Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Teacher Talks, a podcast where general education teachers can talk to special education teachers about important issues and trends in hopes of helping teachers have more successful professional careers and more successful learning experiences for their students. My name is Wanda Myers, special education teacher for over 10 years. Today, we will be talking about inclusion and integrating students with disabilities in the general education classroom. While some of you may still be on the fence about having students with disabilities in the general education setting, it is important to recognize what inclusion provides. It provides equal access to education for all students while building a sense of belonging and reducing the stigma of students with disabilities. Throughout history, people with disabilities have dealt with societal barriers, discrimination, and exclusion. Their determination, resilience, and advocacy efforts have led to many advancements, especially in education. But before getting into that, let's talk about the historical and philosophical influences of inclusion. The philosophy of inclusive education is based on an equity and rights-based approach that believes all students, regardless of their abilities, have the right and access to equal education. The philosophy of constructivism highlights that students learn best when they are motivated and engaged in their learning environment. Inclusion in the general education classroom fosters diverse learning experiences, which benefits all students in the long run. Some of the benefits of including students with disabilities in the general education classroom include expanding friendships, changes in perceptions about students with disabilities, and teaching students how to interact with one another, and also providing more academic benefits for students with disabilities. Legislative changes and advocacy movements have historically influenced the movement towards inclusion in the United States. Laws such as IDEA have been changed over and over again since the late 1970s to ensure that students with disabilities have the right to free appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. Advocacy movements such as the National Federation of the Blind and the American Foundation for the Blind have played an important role in advancing the rights of students with disabilities. They've also helped to shape legislation, policies, and perceptions about students with disabilities. Inclusion does not just have an impact in the classroom, but in the community as well. Society is changing their outlook and developing a greater sense of awareness and acceptance of diversity. Inclusivity in the classroom broadens greater societal goals of inclusion, equality, and diminishing the barriers between people of different groups. Although inclusion may be more and more on the rise, there are still challenges and considerations that need to be addressed. Teachers often need more training to be able to support diverse learners in an inclusive classroom. Schools often don't have the necessary resources to support students with disabilities. Inclusion remains an important issue which requires continued collaboration between educators, the community, and policymakers to make sure it is implemented successfully. Thoughts? Comments? Have an anecdote you want to share? I'll be taking calls right after a few words from our sponsors.